Hello, this is Beth and Wilhelmina with another Froud's Fairy Oracle card. We are at the Sage, and this guy's kind of an Odin-like dude. And since I work with Odin, Odin really resonates with the Sage and I. He has part of the reason why it's like that whole blind thing too, and he just always reminded me of Odin. Is part of the reason why that comes to my mind. Someone else may come to your mind. But this guy is knowing. He is truly that going really, really deep in understanding yourself in a true sense of the way, not in a superficial or an empowered way. Much of what the Sage is stepping into your empowerment through wisdom and knowledge and foresight and being able to use your brain to figure out implications that could potentially happen to you. Hold on one sec. I'm like, I took notes on these cards. I'm going to use them. But he's that really empowered wisdom. He can be a shaman, wise man, or just a wise man. It's not all magical beings or people identify as shamans, even though they have characteristics or could, if they chose to, identify as a shaman. It's one of those things he can embody. Shamanic wisdom, the wisdom of the inner knowing, wisdom of the body. Some might see him as Father Time, the old man. Old man of the mountain kind of figure. He's that kind of guy. The blind eye sees into the other world. He kind of straddles both worlds too. That's one of the things with the Sage. He's not just walking in one world. He's always in two worlds. He's always seeing that a different world with that eye that cannot see in this world. And of course, then he has the eye that can see this world, so he's seeing this world. Whatever world he is currently in, he's always in two. He's never always in one spot exactly. And in a way, this lets him have the connection to see where he needs, what he needs to see to make the connections of how to connect things. And these are the connections that are not always very obvious to people. They can be kind of very subtle at times and difficult to put together as you're walking through what you're walking through at that point in time. Sometimes it's very easy after the fact to say, oh, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see that? And it's because you're in the middle of it. It's harder to see the connections in the middle of it. And the Sage helps you see those connections when you're in the midst of everything. And he's got the patience to pick through it, to see it, to know it, to understand it, not just be like, okay, I got the connection, and then you're gone. He's like, no, explore this connection, find out what it means to you, delve deep into it, and see what happens. It's really about finding the wisdom of self, the wisdom within, the wisdom in your world and other worlds, and how do you use it to connect your life? How do you use it to make the connections of what you're going through? He's extremely super dynamic. I worked with him pretty intensively. He was showing up a few years ago. He shows up here and there, but there was a point in time when I really, really needed to trust myself, when I really needed to trust the process of change and was going through some really big change. And he's kind of like, yeah, you got this, connect it, see it, know it. You can keep going through this. Not understanding and making the connections as you go or after the fact, your partial connections, and then growing that partial connection to a larger connection of understanding. And so he was very integral in that kind of like huge change year. This was a death year. He was showing up a lot too. Of working through that change and understanding that I can do it and it's going to be okay in the long run. And trusting that, trusting my wisdom, trusting his wisdom. Okay. Yeah, he's a creature that likes tradition. I know. Okay, stop. She has little mats because she's had joint issues. My little kitty. Yeah, you got her joint issues. And so I like try to play with him. So when I cut him off, she doesn't get angry, but she's kind of not into me playing with him today. Okay, now that you just wanted to know that, I know. Get back to the stage. He really values tradition. It's something very important to him. But at the same time, he's not like, it can't change. Nothing can change. He's very much like, change happens. Change is good. Change is appropriate at times. And you need to appreciate it along with your traditions. You can have both. You can have change and tradition. Sage says so. Just trust him on that one. So, you can really value the traditions of what you like to do, but you can also approach those traditions with a sense of change and appreciating change and being able to teach those traditions and that appreciation of change by leading, an example of it. And he's very much an example card. He walks his walk, he talks his talk, and he does his best to be it. Even Oda has like a certain, not necessarily, he's not like Loki who's a full-blown trickster, but even Odin has a sense of guile, a sense of not trickery. What is the word I'm looking for? Guile works really well. Fooling you, not really fooling you. Making you puzzle it out, kind of using guile to put this obstacle in your way and let you figure it out. And make your own breakthrough, not being given it on a platter. When he's kind of blocked, and when you're blocking this energy when it's trying to come into your life, you get those people who are like, I think of like Aleister Crowley, who's always changing stuff. It's like, yeah, I didn't tell it right. It's like, Aleister, if you don't tell it right, and then you're dead, and no one has the original right, that's not how it is. When he's contradicted, that's the kind of shit you do. You're like, oh yeah, it's a secret, you can't know. And it's kind of a creepy thing. It's not an initiation thing where you go through into a mystery, faith or religion or practice, however you want to call it. That is a whole different concept than being kind of like a jerk and saying, oh yeah, it's secret lore. Oh yeah, I have the secret. Maybe I'll tell you, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't tell you true. Those are kind of people, if you run into someone who's like that with his teacher, get out. Run the other way. Run fast. Because they want to gain power with their secret lore. They're holding this thing over you, going like, yeah, I know so much more than you do. But I'm not going to tell you because that would give you my power. And that's not the kind of power you want. You want the empowered wisdom that the sage holds for you, that makes you step into yourself more fully as a human being and not, a jerk. So, yeah, that's the sage. Just watch out for that contradicted thing, especially in spiritual teachers, people who set them up as gurus of any form in any, not just the spiritual. People are like, oh yes, I have all the secret lore, and maybe I'll tell you, and maybe I won't. Maybe you can have my secret lore for 4 payments of $4,000. Not saying that people shouldn't make money off what they're teaching or what they do, but pay attention to how they're doing it. If they're saying, oh, this is secret lore, and maybe I'll get to you or not. If they feel like they're holding that lore over you to contain power, You really need to watch out for that in any form of teacher. It just doesn't work. Geez, I was 16. I had a freaking psychologist go to her. So, okay, example of this kind of contradicted sage prayer. When I was 16, I had to go see this psychiatrist. I think he was a psychologist. I really don't freaking remember. He was a jerk. I'm 16. I was like 15, 16. He's an adult and a licensed therapist. And he wanted to hypnotize me. I said, no. He said, well, ask your parents. I said, in my mind, my parents are backing me up. So the parents come in at the end of session, blah, blah, blah. And he asked them, and they're like, it's up to her. That is kind of an example of that kind of, I have the power, you don't have the power. He thought my parents would waffle for me. They weren't. I knew they would back up what I wanted. I did not trust him. Thus, I didn't really want to do anything deep with the guy. So that's kind of an example of what the sage contradicted can bring in. When you're a licensed therapist entering into a power struggle with a 16-year-old, and you're initiating it, the adult is initiating the power struggle, not the 16-year-old. So that is the stage. Much love. Thank you for watching, and I will see you around. Bye-bye.